From global marketing leader at Deliveroo to TEDx speaker and founder of her own business. Today's guest, Alice, has lived the kind of career renovation most of us only think about. And she is here to share her story unfiltered. Hey, you! Welcome to Selfish Me. I'm Cam, a business psychologist and a proud late bloomer who finally stopped living by everyone else's rules. And this is your space to pause, reconnect, and build a life that feels true to you. Because putting yourself first isn't selfish, it's powerful. Hello, you, and welcome to Selfish Me. Today we have a super special episode because we have a guest. And our guest is Alice, who helps leaders and teams unlock high performance by bringing out their unique badassery in people, helping them become braver, bolder, and more themselves. Through live keynotes, workshops, and development programs, she has worked with global brands including Google, Nando's, Deliveroo, Tesco, and so many more to build teams that truly excel. A TEDx speaker and former global marketing leader at Deliveroo, Alice combines real-world leadership experience with powerful lessons in resilience, growth, and human performance. Her approach, which she calls Return on Individual, focuses on creating lasting behavior change through authentic, high-impact learning experience. She has also been an active and valuable voice on platforms like LinkedIn, where some of my favorite posts to read are hers. She talks openly about careers, mental health, motherhood, and many other topics, making her content both relatable and impactful. Welcome, Alice.
Thank you. I wish that I could have that kind of an opening every time I start the day. It just blows a bit of smoke up your butt. It's lovely. Thank you.
My pleasure. Look, I can edit this bit out for you and you can play that as your ring to wake up in the morning.
Well, I mean, first practical action. Imagine if we did do that. Imagine if we gave ourselves that little pep talk
Yeah.
and played somebody else telling us how great we were every morning. We'd start with a smile on our face at the very least, wouldn't we?
Love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. And we talk about different topics that we can cover, and quite a few came up to surface around relationship and motherhood. Where would you like to start?
Well, why don't we start with relationships, since I was in relationships before I became a mother.
Yes, that is very true. And you were Alice before you also became a mom, and which is quite interesting identity shift as well. I actually did topic around relationship this month about being single and the stereotypes and perceptions that people have around single people, because I am single at the moment. And I always get this pity look that I am single. I think personally for me, I've been lonely in relationship and happy single, and you can be both in both situations, but there is something around the status that you are in a relationship is like you achieved the goal in being in a relationship. So I'd love to know your experience of relationship.
Oh my gosh, you're lying when you said you can feel lonely in relationships and happy and fulfilled being single is just so true. I think in my experience, I stayed in an unhappy relationship for far too long because of all of the stereotypes and the stigma and, that thing that women have called a biological clock and peer pressure. Even though no one was pressuring me, it was more me wanting to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
I was in a really unhappy relationship for a really long time, and he was a great guy and I'm a great girl. We just weren't great for each other. We didn't bring out the best of each other. And I spent years, honestly years, tormented by should I stay, should I go? Every relationship has ups and downs, but should it be down this much? I used to bore my friends, my family to tears. I went to therapy to try and find solutions to whether or not I should be in this relationship. And eventually there came a point, and someone kind of warned me about this who had also been in a challenging relationship, where the cons outweighed the pros and where I was unhappier in this relationship than I thought I could ever be single. And I was like, and what am I telling myself about my worth and about my future if I settle with somebody that is not right for me and I'm not right for them, and it's always going to be a clash? I took the people said brave decision. Oh, you're so brave for getting out of a relationship at 29. And I was like, Why is it brave? And I think it's brave because some people choose to settle. And I can also
Yeah.
understand that if I had been like 10 years on, coming up to 40, wanting to have a baby,
Mhm.
screw it. Maybe I would have settled at that
Yeah.
point. But I was 29 and I thought, no, I'm just going to go for it. And I had then like two of the most formative, life changing, exploratory years of my life with some lonely moments where I was like, where's
Yeah.
my person? Because frankly, for me, I did want to find somebody and share my life with them,
Mhm.
and have children. And, I felt like my biology slightly held me hostage there. But I
Yeah.
can honestly say, if you gave me the choice again of being in an unhappy relationship or being happy single, I would choose being happy single time and time again.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So vulnerable. I actually ended up my long-term relationship when I was 27, and we've been together for 7 years. And we should have probably broken up after 3 years, if I'm being honest. But then, as you said, I remember speaking with my friends and my mom. She was like, well, there are challenges in relationships. I was like, yeah, but like, how long do they last? And I remember having a conversation with him as we were walking to a metro station. I was like, this is what you want. This is what I want. They're completely different. None of us wants to compromise. And I think we outgrew our relationship, what we do. And he was like, oh, well, let's just wait. I was like, I cannot wait any longer. I've been so lonely in this relationship for the last 4 years. What am I waiting for? And what are you waiting for as well? But even though we were not married, technically for our families, because we've been so long together, they were expecting a wedding. So when we did a breakup, everybody was like, so you want a break? I'm like, no, we broke up, but you're going to get back together. I'm like, no, we would. And it was so hard to come to the decision because we had life together and plans, the future. But I think my family were more shocked than anybody else. I think maybe I didn't share as much with my family as much as I did with my friends as well about the challenges we were facing. But I remember my dad being really worried, said, oh my God, you're going to be by yourself now. I'm like, Dad, yeah, but I've been providing for myself financially. I've been like independent person who was in a relationship. But for him, suddenly I was this vulnerable person living in a different country. And it was very hard on him actually.
Everybody's different and everybody needs and wants different things. And
Mm.
look, let's like you mentioned that I did a TEDx talk. The talk is all about
Mm.
how love is the ultimate privilege. And so I've
Privilege. Yeah.
done a lot of research on this topic, and like from what I've learned, people who are in happy relationships are like the happiest generally, and
Yes.
I'm like paraphrasing here and blah, but like
Mm-hmm.
based on what I understand, like people who are in happy relationships are the happiest and they live the longest if you're in a happy
Yes.
relationship. For me, whose value is all about connecting, that was something that was really important to me, and I thank my stars, lucky stars, every single day that I met my husband, who turned out to be, a great fit, and we have children together, and I'm sure we'll talk about that and so on. So like that can still be that was my mecca, and I'm really
Mm-hmm.
fortunate that I was able to sort of find it. But I maintain that I turned 39 this year. I don't know what my life would be if I hadn't met my husband, Harry. I really wanted children. Maybe I would have considered doing it on my own. I know people who have gone out and done it on their
Yeah.
own with a sperm donor and things. And my mum, luckily, is a huge part of my life and is a huge part of my children's lives. Like, she's a really active grandma. Who knows? Maybe I would have moved in with my mum and like we would have done it together.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe I would have like
Yeah.
found a friend and created a kibbutz. Maybe I would
Mm-hmm.
have actually come to a place where I decided that I wasn't going to have children, but I was going to dedicate my life to fur babies. I don't know, like
Yeah.
we also have to, there's some level of like what the universe serves us, what we go out in search of, and trying to make the like set of decisions that we can with whatever kind of
Absolutely.
gets thrown our way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you write about like the relationship and being the happiest if you're in a happy relationship. And I think sometimes people forget about the quality of the relationship. It's almost like you are in a relationship and you achieve the goal and nobody actually asks you, are you happy in the relationship? When I speak with my parents, because I've been single for a few years now, it's like, are you happy? I was like, I am happy because it's the quality of the relationship that I want, and I'm not ready to settle for anything less than what I wanted. I think relationships are super important. Like you said, like, meeting the right person that's the important part rather than rushing into something. And I feel sometimes, especially if we as women want to have kids, is that biological clock is like, okay, so what am I doing? What that looks like? There's more and more women freezing their eggs. I have frozen my eggs as well at some point, and just to have that pressure off me and then decided if I actually want to have kids without the pressure.
Yeah, it's really hard, and I always say the only thing we can do is make the best decisions that we
Yeah.
can with the information that we have at the time. I remember before I met Harry, my now husband, I went and had like one of those biology MOTs to kind of see where I was, and had
Mhm.
considered freezing my eggs as well. And then I was fortunate, and I met him. It's like I would always hold that like don't settle as a sort of
Yep.
goal for relationships, but I also
Mhm.
acknowledge that that's like easy to say when I did actually meet my husband at 31 and we did
Yeah.
go on to have children quite quickly and it all kind of worked out well. I don't know how it would have been if I was, like I said, 39 now, and if I met
Yeah.
someone that wasn't maybe quite right,
Mm.
maybe I would have chosen differently. It's really hard to say, but what is clear is that there's lots of different pressures going on for lots of different people in this space for lots of different reasons. We just have to do the best we can with the information and resources available to us at the time.
That is true. I think like practicing that self compassion and acknowledging the stuff that we have that makes us happy and hoping, more will come. That positive mindset and mindset of abundance, like there will be more coming, but I am grateful for what I have at the moment.
I mean, that's just such a key thing. I've got, a few friends who are having a difficult time at the moment. And one of the things I've really encouraged them to do is every day, 3 things that you're grateful for. Like my practice
Yeah.
is when I go to sleep at night, I think about all the things I'm grateful for. Oh, I really enjoyed talking to Camilla on her
Mm.
podcast today. Oh, we're going to have a heat wave this weekend. Oh, I quite enjoyed the thing I made for dinner. It doesn't have to be anything huge or grandiose,
Cute.
right? But just to couch in that attitude of gratitude, because recognizing all the things that we have to be grateful for is a much happier and freeing and more liberating place to be. But if this isn't a natural practice for you, it might be something that you put a note on your phone or a notepad by the bed. You
Yeah.
just write down 3 things, or you send them to a friend of yours. I get some of my friends to
Mm.
send them to me to create that practice.
Yeah.
So I think anybody could do with some more gratitude. And again, based on the research that I've done, if you practice
Yeah.
gratitude daily, it makes you
Mm.
happier. Like it literally does make you happier. You're practicing tuning your kind of mind into
Yeah.
more happiness. So, the science supports it. It's not just something that
Yeah.
sounds nice.
No, absolutely. I mean, positive psychology is all about the gratitude and a PERMA model from Martin Seligman. And I saw a quote somewhere that is the goal is not to have a perfect day, but the goal is to enjoy your day despite the setbacks, basically. So if I had a rough morning, I was like, okay, that was just a rough morning. I can still have a good day and be happy with myself and whatever I do it, despite the little things that can set us off. But I think negative emotions are so much heavier on our brain and they leave a bigger imprint. And I think that's why we focus on the negative. So as you said, like practicing that gratitude in the morning or the evening is life changing. I
Well, exactly. And particularly for people who can be really self critical,
Mm.
recognizing what you did that you're proud of
Yeah.
that day. How did you show love to somebody else? How did you help somebody else? How did you overcome said challenge?
Mm.
Reminding ourselves that actually we're doing a great job, and
Yeah.
just heroing ourselves for the stuff that we have to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the internal stuff. I love what you said that because it's like, oh, I was resilient. I was brave. We would say that to kids or our friends, like, you were so brave today. When it was the last time we said that to ourselves, like, I was so brave in going into that meetings or whatever that, that bravery
Yeah,
looked like for you in that day.
exactly.
So, on to motherhood, you've mentioned that you have kids and you're a mom and you wanted to be a mom. And I was looking through your LinkedIn posts, and there's quite a few that I really love the titles that you have. Well, not titles, but in the first line that you can see it. So, I treat them as a titles. One is like becoming a mother is a roller coaster. Number 2 for my favorites is my kids are in childcare more than with me. 60-40 of their total waking time. And yeah, there's a few more, but maybe let's start with those because those are very honest posts. And especially now where there's so much expectations of moms, you're very candid and open of your experience, what motherhood looks like for you as a person, for your business and your life as well.
Yeah, well, first thing to say is that Motherhood's Like a Roller Coaster. I actually wrote a post about that post yesterday because it got less than 500 impressions. So it didn't do particularly well. I share
Mm-hmm.
that because some of those other posts that you mentioned got hundreds of thousands of
Mm-hmm.
views. And some of them get fewer than 500 views. I think sometimes we feel quite like nervous about posting on
Yes.
places like LinkedIn and showing up. And I guess I like to showcase that sometimes we have viral hits and other times you would get more notice if you dropped a fart in an elevator. Do you know what I mean? So
If
like
you know the key, what is it that makes a difference? Because my posts, some of them are in a JO 500 and some of them they're like more, like 2,000, 4,000. I'm like, what is the difference over here? What happened?
yeah. So I think, I mean, you'll get loads of people in your feed telling you the tricks to a amazing post. The headline is really important.
Yeah.
Like you want to stop someone scrolling. So always my opening lines that have been really hard hitting have got the most action.
Mm.
I started one overheard in Waitrose. Immediately people are like
I saw
overheard in
that one.
Waitrose,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I
Um
read that one.
I linked something to. Do you remember when the Office of Budget Responsibility accidentally
Yes.
published some information before they were meant to? The most views I've ever had on a post was that one where I said to the poor person at the Office of Budget Responsibility, we've all been there. My
Mm.
worst mistake cost £40,000 and a full menu
That's
reprint.
right.
So, like, I think, LinkedIn does like, there's a currency of cringe. I think, like, if you're on there, like, selling yourself and, like, hi, I do this, unless you find a way to make it really humble or really interesting, that type of content often bombs. It's when I literally, I'm like my most vulnerable that
Mm.
seems to connect with folks. And
Yeah.
that first line is basically
Yeah.
the window
The
within
heaven.
which to attract them. Like, are they going to click more or
Mm.
not? Are they going to scroll past? Of course, the picture's also important.
I was gonna say you always have a picture of you because I was scrolling through it, and I always saw that you were there, but only like when I was preparing for this conversation, I was like, oh, every single post has a picture of you. I was like, I like it because it looks different. When I like was going through your feed, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. And then you also have the emotions of the post, and you want it sometimes on your pictures as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's way too many pictures of me in a beanie hat, selfies on LinkedIn.
You said you're a cold person, 80%, 80 or 90%. You're a
There
cold
you
person.
go.
I relate to that.
You read that post.
Yeah.
Look, there's only so many ways I can take screenshots of my face. I'm like, I used to post pictures of my children's faces. I don't anymore. That's
Mhm.
something that I've like evolved. It's just um you read some of the horror stories and things, and I
Yeah.
just have decided that that's not for me. So then there's a lot of my face. Yes. And then trying to get pictures with my children where their faces aren't in them, but you can tell there's a child in there, which seemed quite contrived. But yeah, I mean, like, people at the end of the day are connecting with the human. So I think the
Yeah.
more that you can show of your face and yourself, the better. And then obviously, like, novelty does well. So like there's one picture of me which I did about boycotting party bags. Again, like that was me connecting into like a Me Too moment, but like in a
Yeah.
good way, of people being like, oh yeah, bloody party bags or whatever it might be. And that I had glitter all over my face because it was my
I
daughter's
saw
birthday
it.
party and I'd allowed them like an idiot to completely cover my face in glitter. That one did quite well. So I think it's all fun and games. I'm trying to be a bit
Yeah.
freer on LinkedIn around like, it's okay to try things and fail. It's okay to
Mm.
try a text only post, see how that does. It's okay to try different post lengths. It's okay to try, like, last week I did a few like screenshots,
Mhm.
seeing how those went, like, just, and not taking yourself too seriously, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Try it more fun
absolutely.
like that.
It is. It is. I'm trying to be more consistent with LinkedIn posts, and sometimes like I schedule the stuff that I wanted, and some things I have something on my mind, and I just post it in the moment as well. But I don't think I have pictures of me on LinkedIn. I have it on the Instagram,
Try it.
which has been, yeah, I'm going to give it a try because only this year I'm like, okay, my face can be there. Basically, I got to that point. But we got
Just
a little bit.
remember, we connect
Mm,
with the human. So the more, like,
yeah,
this, you're in
yeah,
the same space
yeah,
as me. People connect with people. So the more of the person you can show, and like you and your
yeah.
face of the person, I think that just helps build connection.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. You know what? I think I always have a conflicting emotions about LinkedIn because it's a space where like it's professional, but then there's more subjects that are outside of career people are covering and it's changing. And I'm like, but is it LinkedIn also a place where you have videos or short clips or pictures as well. Like I think I haven't made my mind if that's a place where I will be doing that. But I might try give a try with the pictures, with the photos. I think that will be a good one. So for our listeners, if you are working on your LinkedIn, there you go. You have a top tips from Alice, and I've seen your top performing posts. Are they great? And now the other thing is that you have so many comments and you reply to every single comment.
Can I tell you a confession there? If you
Yes.
reply to comments, it tells the algorithm good things and it keeps pushing it. That's not to say that I don't appreciate every comment. I do. But again, one of the things that I've learned is like quick responses to comments. And it's even better if you get conversations going in the comments.
Yeah.
And the more
Mm.
time people spend writing the comments, like all of these
Yeah.
things are sending signals to LinkedIn that says people
Mm.
are engaging with this or they're not. Like
Yeah.
it used to be that, I don't know, likes, for example, you'd correlate that with engagement. But I think
Yeah.
the platform's matured to say, actually, how many people click more? How many people view your profile? Like I've had posts
Yeah.
before that haven't done like anything wild on like likes or comments, but drove like 100 profile views, which tells people,
Mm.
tells the algorithm that people were interested in
Yeah.
me. So there's loads of different signals and cues that we might not even know about.
Yeah.
So it's not all about comments necessarily or likes, but one way to tell the algorithm that your content is good is to reply to all of the comments that you get
Love that.
quickly.
Well, it's great. I'll definitely be more consistent with the comments and encouraging people to comment and also comments on other posts. I think that's the one thing I'm really bad. Like I would read it, I would like it, but I don't really leave the comment because I'm terrible at typing on my phone. Like there'll be a spelling
Dictate.
mistake or there'll
Use
be
the dictate function. I use the dictate
oh,
function all the time. So I'll do
I'll
it
make a
like
note
when
of
I'm on the
that.
go. Yeah. I do
Because
it with
I
texts
barely
as
check
well.
my phone. Yeah, because I barely check LinkedIn on my screen. It's always on the phone when I'm like on the bus or something, and then I'm typing, and it's just like never ends really well. But dictate, I will do that. All right. So going back to motherhood, like I said, there's quite a few posts. I loved it. I saw the party back as well. I don't understand this party backs, but I love it how you bring motherhood into the picture of careers because it should be.
Yeah, I think, I operate from quite a privileged position in that I work for myself. So I get to say how much of myself I bring. And to give you a sense of me as a human, like I'm an open book. I always have been, I'm the one pouring their heart out at the play group or at the playground or whatever. And so I've just like shown up as myself. That sounds a bit cheesy, but like there's a saying that I really love, which is if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. And I feel
Yeah.
really lucky that I feel like I can tell the truth. And people often say, oh gosh, it's really courageous for you to talk about your generalized anxiety disorder. Or I put a post
Mhm.
out not long ago about having a C-section. And it started with, if
Mhm.
you had a cesarean section, you also have a shelf, which is basically where they cut you open to pull your baby out, tear your baby out.
Yeah.
And I put this picture of me, like I wasn't giving birth or anything, but I had just had the epidural. I was like laid down. I had wires all over me. And someone left a comment like, God, I can't believe this is on LinkedIn. Is nothing private anymore. And each to their own.
Mhm.
Completely each to their own. I replied to that being like, I feel like this is a beautiful picture of me embodying my feminine, powerful energy. I like, and for me, there was almost a distance between that woman that was in the picture and me, being in labor to
Yeah.
the woman that posted it. There was a distance. It was like that was me then and this is me now. And I feel really proud of that. So
Yeah.
I've just never, I guess I've been really lucky. Nobody's ever said to me, Alice, I'm not going to book you because you share way too much on LinkedIn. Like it's too personal.
Mm.
There might be people who go, Alice isn't my cup of tea. I don't think that she
Yeah.
gel with the team. And that's completely fine as well.
Yeah.
But I have just always made a habit of showing up as my like perfectly imperfect self, talking about my
Mm.
failures as much as the things that I'm proud of. One day I'll be talking about, oh, look at me, I got a TEDx. And the next I'll be talking about, my post that got 400 views. And I think over the 10 years I've been doing that, I don't have a huge audience, but the people that have been on that journey with me, like yourself,
Yeah.
they feel invested in me. They feel like they've seen
Yes.
me grow. They've seen me go from, not being a mother to a mother of two, from being a sole trader to having a limited company, from talking about how much I wanted to do a TEDx to actually getting the sodding TEDx. And
Yeah.
in between then getting rejections from the TEDx's in the early,
Mhm.
all of that stuff. So I think I just always felt very privileged that I have been able to like build connection with people by just sharing my story and who I am, and it seems to have worked.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been following you since we've met. Gosh, I was at HelloFresh when we've met, and
5 years
that's
ago, COVID,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, it was COVID. Yeah, so that's 5 years. And I remember when you posted that you were pregnant, and then when you were trying for, well, I think you were already pregnant with baby number two, but you gave a little bit of a background of how that felt. TEDx, absolutely. I remember when you said like, if I'm not gonna get it, it's not from lack of trying because I have tried. And I was just thinking before I was going to bed, it's like, oh, I really hope that she's gonna get it. Like, you were on my mind. I might not post it, message, but like, oh, I hope she really gets it because like, like you really want it and you work so hard. And I just thought like, yeah, you should get it. Like, so I think like I'm not the only one who's championing you. There's so many people is because you've been yourself, and it's really nice to connect with your successes and also the day-to-day stuff as well. And yeah, like I said, I really love your post, and I'll be commenting more now, since now I know I can dictate. I'll be commenting on it as well. Life
Thank
changing.
you. Thank you. I have had a really positive experience and by just showing up and being myself. I have to
Mm,
say, like when I was at Deliveroo and I first sort of learned about radical candor and psychological
mm,
safety and like,
yeah,
basically got on this like hype train. I don't think the business was ready because it was run by investment bankers. It was very
yeah,
male,
mm,
it was quite tech bro sort of
yeah,
organization. And honestly, I think that that was part of the reason why I got demoted. And for anybody that doesn't know, I was heading up EU marketing for Deliveroo, really big job. And then I got demoted. Essentially, someone got brought in over the top of me to be the director of the region, and basically I lost all my responsibilities and all my kudos, and it was like the most demoralizing, humiliating moment of my career, which has subsequently become the pivot point for my self-actualization story.
yeah,
It's become the like fuel that drove me to starting my own business and really finding myself. And like, I guess I tell that story to say lots of people have been through challenging situations. It's what you do with them that really counts. But also,
yeah,
I recognize that in some organizations, they don't think leadership looks the same way that I think
yeah,
leadership looks.
yeah,
For me, what I post and share is my version of what that looks like. But I appreciate that some people might be operating in a space where they have more nervousness about that level
yeah,
of vulnerability, of
absolutely.
authenticity, because it's maybe not rewarded in their organizations, and that is something that I think is a struggle for folks.
Yeah,
How do you be vulnerable whilst also being a leader and commanding the room, and how do you
yeah,
be assertive
incredible.
and still be
Yeah.
likable? And I think a lot of people, a lot of women are constantly walking that tightrope of trying to present themselves in the best possible way, bearing in mind all of those different realities, and that's not easy.
No, absolutely. I had few friends going through becoming moms and going back to work and navigating that transition. It was really, really tough. And what I've learned from their experience is that there isn't actually enough support for moms going back to work. Like managers don't know what to do, how to have conversations. Um, Char is usually under resourced. They don't, they might miss some stuff. But also for moms of being on maternity leave, and coming back to work, they feel like they've forgotten all their skills suddenly. And like you have not forgotten your skills. You just were using different skills for the first 12 months of life of your child, but you still have those skills. But a lot of moms, what I've seen it and also from research is like they will take a step back from their career, like for the next jobs, if they decided to take different jobs, just to have a little bit more flexibility and rebuild their confidence. But that step back can cost them quite a lot financially as well. And then it has an impact. But I think it's just because of the lack of support, not just, but because of the lack of support for moms going back to work, and not is kind of spoken about it, but not in the way that drives so much actions.
It's just so difficult. One of, again, my best performing posts, it started with a line from Pride and Prejudice, which is the first line. It's a truth universally acknowledged. And then in Pride and Prejudice, it's that every man of good fortune must be in want of a wife.
Mm,
And I changed it to get screwed coming back from maternity leave, basically.
yeah,
You can barely speak to somebody. Either you are made redundant, either your
yeah,
cover takes your job, either
yeah,
the team gets restructured in like a way that you just don't understand. Everybody leaves. a brand new strategy, a new CEO. I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's impossible to go away from a business for any significant amount of time and not
Yeah.
expect there to be loads of change.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
that is really, really hard. And then, of course, there's all of those conventions that aren't supportive of women, like parental paternity leave being two
Yeah.
weeks. And, there's all sorts of things, there's all sorts of structural things that are working against us. And like, I literally saw a post today about, this taking a step back. And it was a very like, it's women are only taking a step back because they don't have the support, because they don't have a good manager, because the structural things aren't in place, because childcare is too expensive, like all of these
Mm.
things. And I totally, totally agree with that. But I also think women are making choices about the type of life that they want to
Yeah.
lead. And based on the realities that they find themselves in, they're like, I don't want I want to take a step back. They shouldn't have
Yeah.
to do that. But like for
True.
me, I'm earning much less than I potentially could because I work 25 hours a week.
Yeah.
To me, that's what success looks like. I was literally just on the phone with my
Mhm.
therapist earlier saying like, um, sometimes I wonder, am I like being a bit complacent? And then I'm like, do you know what? I've got two kids. I want to be a present
Mm.
mum. I'm doing work I really enjoy. Yes, I could be earning more money. There's plenty of time
Yeah.
to earn more money. Actually,
Yeah.
I think I'm happier, freer, more loving, enjoying my life more.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing to take a step back from my career. And I can say that
Mm.
like proudly and with confidence.
Yeah.
And it's not being, yes, it's being done to me. Of course it is. Like, I am biologically a woman. So, and I wanted to breastfeed and, like all,
Mhm.
there are biological things, there's
Yeah.
patriarchy, there's all sorts of things. But there's also like a choice to say, I don't want that life anymore.
Yeah. And I
Thanks.
think that, yeah, that's absolutely fair. But that is your choice. And I think that's beautiful. And like you said, like it can be at the end. And then, if somebody wants to choose that, and then that's great because that's the definition of success, right? Yeah. I think like the experience I seen it from my friends that was, they were just worried that if they work too much, they're not with the kids. And if they with their kids, they're missing out somewhere. And I think Michelle Obama said that you can't have all at the same time, which I really love because she captured that. Like it was one of her talks, like oh, in the book, I can remember now. She said like it's a lie that you can have all at the same time. You have to pick and choose. And I thought that's so right. I can put on hold my career because I want to X, Y, Z, or I can do other way around. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes we look at our lives through like a small snapshot cycle the next 2 years. But actually, if you look at the wider scale, you had beautiful career, you had beautiful children, you had beautiful career break because you decided to travel or something else. It's like chapters, there's so many different chapters and you decide in what chapter in your life you are. And I think once you make that decision, there's a calmness and peace that comes with that contributes to happiness.
I think the thing that you like nailed for me there is about acceptance on
Mhm.
whatever path you're on, whatever
Yeah.
era of your life you're in, whatever season it is, like having self compassion and self acceptance for who you are and what you need and what the people that you
Mhm.
love around you need at that moment. Like that's peace, that's harmony,
Yeah.
that's happiness, not one like particular path or another.
Yeah.
So it's about trying to find that as much as we can. That quote that you mentioned, like I've heard one that's you can have it all, but not all at once.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
idea of like picking and choosing, like one that kind of speaks to me. I think I wrote it in a post once. It was like the only way you can have it all is when you accept that you can't and accept the trade-offs.
Mm.
And like, the duopoly of being a parent is you're smashing it at work, you're failing at home, you're present at home, you feel like you're not giving it all to work. Like you kind of can never win. Um,
Yeah.
and again, because I do work for myself, I think there is a level of like, there's a bit more autonomy and freedom with that to make
Yeah.
those kind of choices. But then I think that's why a lot of people are now like choosing to work differently. I mean, the
Yeah.
number of like fractional roles I see on LinkedIn, the number of
Mhm.
um part-time,
Yeah.
flexible, associate work. Like I think some people are like choosing to work in a different way.
Yeah. No,
And if you want to
absolutely.
still work in the like normal way, that's cool too. But I look at how challenging I find life right now, bearing in mind I work for myself. I've got a
Mm,
supportive partner and I work from home. And I think if I was having to commute 5 days a week
please.
in and out of town and pick up children, like, I'm sorry, I just wouldn't want, I don't know how people coped. I don't know. I
Yeah.
couldn't have coped. So I don't know how anybody else is managing to do that. That's why so many people are choosing to do something differently, even if that means
Yeah.
taking a step back, whatever it is. Because they're just
Yeah.
like,
I
no,
think that,
I don't want to play that game anymore, thanks. This doesn't look very
yeah.
fun. And Gen
Yeah.
Z is certainly catching up with that. They're like, millennials are
Mm.
such people pleasers, and they're like,
Yeah, we are.
you don't look like you're having that much fun, mate. I think I'll do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, people pleaser is like a separate topic, but definitely we are. It's quite interesting, and I love what you said about the trade offs. And is it Emma agreed with her book Choose Yourself? And then she was doing lots of interviews, and they took out of context that she's a three hour mom rather than that she gets bored after 3 hours on the ground playing with her kids or something like that. But it was taken out of the context. But what I love, what she did is like she didn't explain herself. She was like, it was taken out of context. But what I'm trying to tell you is that when you run a business and you are a mother, you have a trade offs. So you decide which one you're going to trade off and for what. It's a choice. So it links with what you said about like the trade offs. And I think that is very true. And that's in general, not only with the motherhood, but I think in general with life, you make your trade-offs. What is it that you're picking and choosing? And I think for me, the most important part is like, as long that is your choice and you're happy or you made peace with it and you have that sense of calmness or relief that you've made that choice, that's amazing. That's like the goal to make the decisions that are yours rather than the noise around us.
Yeah, I think the difficult thing is, like, if we want to have our cake and eat it too, and I still haven't quite wrapped my head around, made my peace with, like, high performance and getting promoted and, like, all
Mhm.
the things that look shiny and new and great on LinkedIn often come with really, like, working hard and putting the hours in. And I'm still trying to work out, what does high performance look like when you're not prepared to, like, give 120% all of the time? Because I think that's
Mm.
that's the struggle, isn't it? And with some of my clients, you might hear them talk about some people in the team, like, wanting to get promoted and wanting the salary and wanting this, that, and the other, but then kind of only wanting to give 80%. And so
Yeah,
it's like, how do we, and I don't have the answer necessarily, how do we reconcile that in organizations that maybe want more of us than we're prepared to give
yeah,
sometimes, and think
yeah,
that we're still back in the dark ages of, like, you work 60 hours a week and you should be grateful that you have a job, and, like,
yeah.
grow, 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 level up, level up, level up, where people are like, nah, it's not really how I want to do things anymore.
No, it's changing. I think it has changed, but there's like glimpse of old and new. I think it's like a battle of what we want from the old ways of working, what we want it going forward, what that looks like. What are the trade-offs and benefits of working from home and then being in the office and have the proximity with your stakeholders, for example, and a few other things. But I am very interested what the workforce is going to look like in the next 10 years. I really am curious what the work-life components they're going to look like. How's that going to feel like? Because, like you said, I think there's a huge difference with the generations. I read somewhere that at the moment we have 5 different generations in workplace. I think it's 5, and that is wild because you can have them in one team, and everybody is coming from such a different background and mindset. What work is and how is supposed to show up, and what that looks like, what professional looks like as well, right?
100%. Yeah, each of those generations are built from different ingredients and have
Yeah,
different perspectives in life, whilst we also shouldn't, like, generalize, right? So
yeah,
yeah, no, it's the multi-generational bit is it's really interesting. Really, really
yeah.
fascinating to think about different people and what they want.
Yeah. I took a part-time job after I had a burnout. So my part-time job was like short, was at HelloFresh. And because I knew that if I went back time full-time, I would bring my old bad habits of giving too much and not setting boundaries. So I decided I had to have a change of setting. So 3 days was like that would challenge me to look after myself and not take more work because I'm only paid for 3 days. And I remember saying that to my mom, and she was so worried. It's like, isn't that going to impact your career? Would you be seen differently? Are you going to be seen as less ambitious? You've worked so hard to get to that stage in your career, and now you're taking part time without a reason. You're not a parent. I'm like, so you can only be a part-time when you're a parent? What
Mm,
about our well-being and choosing something else for that period that you want to focus on? It for me was my well-being in building healthy habits so I can continue working in corporate because I actually was thinking of leaving corporate and going being back nanny because I love being nanny.
mm,
And Jenny was considering it's like I might go do that. But I think it's just quite interesting how is that perceived. And I remember I was really worried then of taking the part-time job. But the worry wasn't mine, it was my mom's. And then when
mm,
I've acknowledged that, I was very happy with my decision. I was like,
mm.
for 1 year, it gives me the space to do what I wanted for myself. And then I can decide it if I want to continue within the corporate world or do I want to do something else as well.
Yeah. And I think all of that is really true. But at the same time, based on all of the things that I'm reading and all of the research, like people feel very unsafe at the moment and like job insecurity,
Yeah.
the changing nature of the workforce.
Mm,
You can't open LinkedIn without a I've just been made redundant or, whatever's going on. And I think all of the things that we're talking about sound really nice. It felt 3-day week and like, parent
mm,
loudly and, work for yourself and all of those things. I think they are also at odds with the sort
yeah.
of fear that people are feeling right now because they've got bills to pay, mouths to
Yeah.
feed, reality to live. And then that in and of itself can cause a lot of friction internally because you're like, but I want
Mhm.
these things and those things and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I'm not able to get them. And in
Yeah.
some cases that might mean maybe looking for a role in a different organization because this one isn't a good cultural fit for you.
Yeah.
In other times it might be like, okay, just sit tight, shut up, get on with it because we've got to
Mm.
remortgage in 3 months and my partner's about to have a baby and actually I've just got to suck it up for a bit because I really don't want to lose my job right now. So I think again,
Yeah.
it comes to that acceptance piece of like, what does the world around me look like? What's within my control? What's not
Yeah.
within my control? Why am I making the decisions that I'm making? And trying to find some acceptance of that,
Yeah. No,
not
absolutely. I
pressure.
think everybody has a different context in terms of in what context they're making the decisions. I think this time reminds me a little bit during COVID. Like during COVID, there's so many learning and development layoffs, and I was looking for a job because my contract with HelloFresh was finishing, and I was getting to final stages, but I wasn't getting the job. And I remember asking the recruiters, like, tell me, what is it that I'm not seeing that why I'm not getting the jobs? And they said, because head of departments are applying for your level, which I was a manager level, and companies just get really good quality of candidates for way lower price. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to move back home because I was running out of money. I was like, I'm not going to be able to stay in London. I'm just going to pack now and continue looking for a job from home. I was able to be moved to my parents. I actually moved back to Poland for 8 months, and as I was finding a job. But that conversation with the recruiter where they said because so many people was laid off, the market is really, really hard. I'm like, gosh, that is very scary. And I can imagine people in those situations right now when they go, what do we do and how we navigate? Yeah, it's definitely tough.
I mean, like I was reading an article about, I can't remember the exact statistics, but it was talking about marketers. And I think it said something like 65% of marketers are feeling like frustrated with their career progression at the moment and they don't feel like they're
Mhm.
able to move. And things are quite stagnant, right? Because people are staying in roles because there aren't so many jobs around, blah blah
Yeah,
blah. And so, like it all backs up, and all of that is true. We can't change that, but then maybe for anybody that might be in that sort of situation, it's like, okay, how can I find growth ancillary to my role? Like, what
yeah.
other stretch projects could I volunteer for? What high
Mhm.
visibility projects could I volunteer for?
Yeah,
How could I use some of my skills outside of work? What
yeah.
are my hobbies? What am I passionate about? How could I lean into those things? What are the things that
Mhm.
I'm not as good at that I'd like to be that maybe I could use a bit of time to hone my craft in, like go on to LinkedIn Learning and look for some public speaking training. So I,
Yeah.
I think it's easy to feel stuck and like not really know what you can do next when you feel like the
Mhm.
universe isn't making space for you, when actually
Yeah,
the question is, okay, well, even though I might feel stuck here, what can I do to make myself feel like I'm moving forward in other areas and
yeah.
like get myself ready to move forward and progress when my opportunity opens up?
Yeah, so having faith that the good stuff will come, but also preparing for those stuff and actually not waiting with your hands folded and like not doing anything, but actually
It's
preparing,
just
thinking about the
frustrating.
skill. Yeah.
It's frustrating. Like when we take control of a problem, when we have agency over something, it gives us our
Mm.
sense of like control and autonomy back.
Yeah.
Um, Like one of my favorite sayings is luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Love that.
So like, people might say to me, and they have said to me in the past, "You're lucky that you worked for Deliveroo." I'm like, "Damn right, I am lucky. I got that job
Yeah.
because I prepared really hard for the interview. I had a
Mhm.
good LinkedIn profile that was like saying things. I'd palled up to this recruiter who thought I was really great because I always prepared really well for the jobs that she put me forward for. But that
Yeah.
was none of that was luck. That
No,
was
absolutely.
preparation. So
Yeah.
then when she dropped into my DMs in 2015 and said, "Hey, have you heard of this company Deliveroo? They've just closed their next round of funding. They're looking for an international marketing manager." I was like, "Yes, hello." Like I'd done the preparation that I was able to leverage that luck.
No, you 100% right. I think there's preparation and thinking about those skills every year for me when I think about like what I want to do it and what are my worries. I try to match with that, like how I can minimize that worry. AI is definitely a big thing for L&D, right? And also how the training is creating content and everything else. Like some of the skills that I have, it will be replaced with AI. So okay, so what skills do I need to develop to still bring value and be the person who gets the jobs? Instead of somebody saying it's like, "Oh, AI can do this." I was like, "Yes, AI can do this, and I can do this, and this is the full package for sure."
Yeah, exactly. Look, I maybe I'm a bit of a laggard, but I just like I don't believe the hype in like AI taking over training. Like nothing can replace human connection, having conversations, being with other people, feeling seen and heard by like a real
Yeah,
human. And so I think those spaces are going to continue to be really important. And AI
yeah,
can go and do the boring stuff, frankly, and leave
yeah,
us to do the fun
exactly.
stuff.
Absolutely, no, 100%. If anything, I think more AI content will be there. People will be creating more human content, actual pictures, actual emotions, and actual connections with people for sure.
Look, there's definitely downsides, right? You open up LinkedIn and it's really hard to tell now what posts are like AI's got its fingerprints over everything. And you
Mm.
just, it's hard to separate truth from reality. And even now I find myself writing posts and I'm like, oh, don't use the M dash because people are going to think it's AI. And then I hear people writing about the M dash has existed for generations. And I'm like, I find myself writing in like a triplet kind of style. And then I'm like, oh gosh, is that AI? I'm like, this like, it is
Yeah,
exhausting, but it's here to stay. I think we just have to keep connected to what we do better than the robots
yeah,
and make
that is
those
so
spikes spikier.
that is so true. All right, we are coming to the end of our conversation, which is really, really sad. I would love for you to share advice, a tips, a reflection for our listeners. Anything that summarize what we've talked about it, or anything on your mind that you would like to share. You have such a wealth of experience from a different angles.
That's a great question. I think it's a bit of an oldie but a goodie. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for every single person that's listening to this to remember that they are a literal miracle, right? The chances of you being conceived in your current form are 1 in 14 quadrillion, right? That is 15 zeros. The chances of your parents meeting, of them getting on well enough to, do the deed, for that egg and that sperm to come together to create you in this world. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And so even if you had one of those days where you fell out of bed and you missed your train and are sweating on the tube, whatever it is, like just remember that you are a miracle, that you have
Yeah.
miraculous things to give the world. It's generous to bring yourself to the world in your best possible form, whatever that looks like, and to just go out there and be badass you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Alice. I am so looking forward to your TEDx about love is privilege. And thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed it. There's
You're
so
so
many
welcome.
goodies for our listeners. I'll leave your contact details, your LinkedIn, and the rest in the notes.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for listening. It honestly means the world to me. If something from today's chat made you smile, think, or feel seen, share it. That's how our Selfish Me community grows. This podcast is about real voices and reminding each other that we are not alone. We are all figuring out how to do life our way, and you are doing better than you think.